So we will have one more presentation before we move forward for the break. But this special team, and I'm sure this will be an interesting fact that I wanted to share, um, there is a gentleman called Rambo, and he's going to present about robotics. I don't know the significance of Rambo and Robo together, but what they bring together is a very interesting thing that we have to look forward to, is the solution that they have built is not a problem that they face in their account, but because they have a group called the Mavericks. Apparently, they go around the accounts asking for problems. I don't know if they would be so looking forward to that. But yes, they've been looking forward and identifying problems, and they've been meeting weekly. And the solution that you're seeing today is one such outcome. So I think as a practice, and these are very junior folks as well. And Rambo, when we were reviewing the presentation before we got to here, there were some things that I said, maybe Rambo, we should modify this. He said, Vinod, no. They were so passionate, they were sure that that's the solution that they wanted to present. So that's the Mavericks teams. Good luck for the initiative and good luck for the presentation.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, myself Saket. He's Rambo. He's Saikat. We are part of Mavericks, just as Vinod introduced us. So before I go into our actual solution, I would like to thank Satish for the great presentation and showing us the new way of avoiding presentation. I know you'll be getting a lot of requests for some drawing classes and those things. So thanks for that. So what's the concept all about? The topic is QA robotics. So the first question which might come to your mind is, are we replacing humans in testing? The answer is known right now, but we don't know the future. We don't know whether robots will intact, can replace the activities that we are doing. Before I go actually in what we have built and what we are going to present, I would like to share with you a small quote from an author. And he says, if you choose to not deal with an issue, then you give up your right of control over the issue, and it will select the path of least resistance. So just from the background perspective, what Vinod was saying, so we are revolving around some issues, and we need some solutions. At times we get stuck with problems. And esteemed Dr. Ram is sitting in front of me. We had the session on connecting the dots, so that few things are in our mind. So thanks for that. Okay. So some statistics we have in front of us. Due to time constraint, we have to skip few slides. But what I would like to present before you is, what is our current IT trend? Most of the current IT trends are more from the intuitive part and from the human needs. But if you look at from a testing perspective, from the automation part and from the other activities that we are doing, we find that still those solutions are decade old and from working under the hood and not from the user interface. How many times we have found that an account has come up with a new framework on mobile test, and they say, okay, I have a new framework on a mobile device, on a tab, or on a new, a product of a mobile. So these things again, with so many frameworks, so many items working, especially on the, the application part, is there a need that we take a step forward and think from the hardware perspective? We call that, okay, I am giving to the customer an end-to-end mobile solution, mobile testing solution. But don't you think we are giving an end-to-end solution just from the application perspective? What about the hardware part? Why are we skipping that? Is there an area, is there an opportunity that we can go into that part and say, I have an end-to-end solution? So let's see what we have. So what we're trying to come up with more of an agnostic framework or engine which can work on any mobile platform, be it Android, be it Symbian, be it BlackBerry, irrespective of device, irrespective of OS. Right? If you can please go to the next slide. Okay. Now, this gentleman standing here is a OEM manufacturer MD. Now, he has received a request to test more than 1,000 devices. Now, these devices again are the new branded devices which will be going into market soon. So what is his approach? What is it going in his mind? How will I test this? Okay, I don't have a set of QA people who can test me 1,000 devices. So let me outsource these things. But that's fine, you can outsource these. But what should be my approach? From an OEM industry, if we look, what are the activities that they test? They don't test the application part to a very certain limit. They're more interested on the response part which you get from the actual device. I know more than 90% of you will be having a touch-based mobile device. Let's look at the response part. Are we getting correct response whenever we press a device? So those areas or those items are going into his mind. Can I have a limited or a reusable hardware robotic solution which can handle all the screen and devices? Can I integrate it to more of a cloud solution based item? Can I have a solution which is independent of any geographical restrictions? So if I come down, our solution will try to give a better hardware and touch interface response. We'll try to enable it more from the cloud perspective. It will be able to integrate as well as we can give more from a service perspective. We'll go in detail and elaborate more, but to make you all a feel of what it is, this is where Rambo, as he described, will come into picture. And this is all his brainchild about diagrams and concept. So he will explain more in detail on this part.
Thank you, Saket. Now, just taking a step backward, let me ask you a question. How many do you today use a touch-based mobile or tablet device? Can you just please raise your hand? How many of you used to use these kind of touch-based devices 2 years back? The problem of mobiles. Now, coming to the solution. Now, this solution has been designed to keep OEM manufacturers in mind. Now, if I take OEM manufacturers in mind, OEM manufacturers don't test applications. They will try to test the response of the devices they manufacture, right? Now, if I am a OEM manufacturer, I will try to test my devices before I roll it to the makers. Now, what I will need a proper testing framework to make these real responses live. When any kind of mobiles are tested, we have only two options to test. First, use any robotic solutions to properly test the touch-based responses. Because all of the mobile automation frameworks that we have right now is based on the OS. They work on the OS portion. They don't work on the devices. So the only solution the OEM manufacturers right now have to outsource it to other workers who will just test it manually. Now, we have come up with a solution where we're employing a robotic arm which will emulate and simulate the touch response of a human arm. Presently, the solution supports 2-point touch, and it will mimic the touch of a human response and trigger the response that normally we would have responded in the mobile. Now, how this will work? First, we have a framework. Just like Cognizant uses the framework, we have come up with a single framework. That framework is the main thing the designer will use. The designer will test cases based on the interactions it has to do. Like, it will take screenshots of something above button and just tell that we have to click that button and I should be getting this page. So these are the actions he has to perform on the software component. After the software component, just going back to the last slide, this is our whole software stack. This is supposed to be established in the cloud so that it can be termed as a testing as a service. We can actually expose this. Now how it will work? Once the response goes to the universal engine, it will analyze the response. It uses two technologies. First, Python for the programming language, and then MIT project called Sikuli, which uses GUI verification. The GUI verification will be termed from the response in an emulator. The hardware device is far ahead. It's not there still now. When it gets whatever it has to be done, it will go to a universal simulator. The simulator consists of 4 portions, considering mainly the main players in the market like iOS, Symbian, Android, and BlackBerry Web SDK. Now, depending upon whatever the designer has chosen, it will go to that specific simulator. Once it's in the simulator, the Python and Sikuli will do its work and click on the specified response. This is all in the emulator portion. The main device is still not there. What it's doing now is that whenever it's clicking or doing anything in the emulator, it gets a pixel by pixel coordinate. That coordinate gets mapped with a coordination mapper which has an inch by inch, 2 pixel by pixel mapping. This way, we get the inch by inch coordinate, which is the physical coordinate of a device. Now, it exposes its response via Arduino web server, which we have built via Node.js. It exposes the service as API in the web. So it can be accessible from anywhere in the world without geographical location constraints. So now going to the hardware stack, which is the heart of it. Can we go to the next slide, please? The hardware mainly receives the signal via a connector called Arduino Web Shield. We are using a microprocessor called Arduino microprocessor, which even the new manufacturers of mobiles also use as their GPU. The Samsung even S2 uses it as a GPU, right? Now, Arduino we have configured, but Arduino is only a microprocessor. It doesn't have the interfacing capabilities. We have taken the Web Shield. It's an open source technology, and the chips are available. We have taken them and built an integrated framework where it will receive what it has to do on the device, on the physical device, and it will perform the action on the physical device. Now, another USP of this solution will be the OEM manufacturer won't have to build a hardware stack again and again for their new devices. A single stack will cater to all kinds of mobile devices. How? Okay, this is not actually only mobile and touch-based devices. How? The only thing that mainly changes in touch-based devices from a view perspective is what? It's screen size, right? So, if I can somehow manage it dynamically, the screen size, my solution will work. Now here comes the story. This will be our main platform for this robotic arm to work on. Now, if I place any mobile device here, this device is here, right? Now, I have placed this device here. I have a moving slider here and moving slider here. Now, whenever the input is there, it gets the device coordinate that this device is this inch by this inch long. It has already been mapped. Whenever it's mapped, it will automatically slide these devices to its original coordinates, and we get the exact ratio where the robotic arm should work. So, our problem of multiple screen sizes is solved. Now, let's get back to the robotic arm. This part is fairly simple. It gets the coordination and it knows where to click. No, sorry, it doesn't know where to click. It knows which inch by inch coordinate it should click. So it's clicking. Now, how do I know? So whatever getting clicked is the real thing. How do I assert in automation perspective, right? Whenever anything is getting clicked on the mobile device, we have a mirror driver. Similar to what VNC or VNC viewer uses, we have a mirror driver installed on that OS that will take a screenshot, immediate screenshot, and send it back via the Arduino web server to our software stack, which will verify it with the emulator screenshot that it's same or not. Since it's kernel level screenshot, it will be 100% same. Even then, we have a 80% ratio. So this is mainly how it will work. Now, the tips and bits and the challenges ahead of us. Now, I would like to, okay, let us go ahead. The main problems of building this was, we are still in a very nascent stage. This solution is not yet very mature, what I should say. But it still has problems with physical keyboard devices, hybrid devices. It has problems where PPA comes to play. It has problems where, like, we are still only the touch-based simulation and things like that. We are not catering to the audio, the gyroscope portion. Those are in the solution, but they are not properly channeled. Now, in the future plans and what we have, we will add microphone and voice sensor support so that more and more applications are going to be supported by voice navigations. Like, we already have Google now, we have Siri. More these voice APIs get exposed, people will start building applications on them. People will start building closely hardware coupled applications on them, where hardware testing will come into play. This portion is still vacant in the market. There are no players in the market. There are no solutions available, let alone reusable solution. This will provide a reusable solution, which the software stack is only one portion which can be reused as much as one wants, because it's not really changing. The hardware portion, depending upon the client, if it has to use, it can be changed, but it doesn't need to be changed. It just have to be manufactured. We have even come up with a high-level cost what it should get. We even have a prototype. We have had a video of 2 minutes, but due to technical constraint, we cannot show it here.
On the this part of microphone audio sensors, I would like to add a point. Again, it's more from an opportunity perspective. Can we just 1 minute? Can we imagine a platform or a kind of a service where, as a customer, I'm sitting in my in my desk and I send a voice message or something. Okay, please perform the testing on this device. It takes as a feed, as an input through these audio sensors. It passes it back to the service which is hosted somewhere in a cloud or something, and it has those devices, and can it perform those types of tests? So again, these are the opportunities we are trying to look. We don't know whether it will be able to cater such a huge elaborative scenario, but something we would like to definitely look forward in upcoming days. One more slide we had again, but due to time constraints, I think, just last point. Yeah.
The only thing we wanted to add to that, you have seen the whole slides and everything, all the solutions and everything. The last pinch we added is that with the advent of Windows 8, all the laptops and things, they are going to be touch-based. RT devices, they are coming touch-based. We have started extending this to support not only those, but the terminal services, the POS, the kiosk of the hospitality industry, the gaming devices which need physical interaction. You cannot test an Angry Bird like game with automating tools without just sending signals to them, right? And apart from that, being the stack on the cloud, being it published on Amazon EC2 or Rackspace or somewhere like that, provides us the capability to properly build a TaaS solution where testing as a service, we are exposing it and giving client the option to use the service as they need. Thank you.
I think we can now open the podium for the questions. So
Yeah.
you could.
So it's interesting. With respect to, can you hear? Yeah. Okay. So you're talking about the pixels and coordinates, right? And then you're also letting the robot click, right? Would you know how hard it is to program a robot to touch it softly?
Actually, if I could show you the...
I don't know whether you have thought about it. I'll complete the question, okay? So that's one aspect of that, because if you look at all the capacitive touch screens
Yeah, we
and
have
rest of
covered
them,
both.
they're all pretty sensitive and so on and so forth. That is one part of that. Second one is finding out the exact location of the pixel using a robot. It can only move, when it moves, it cannot move by a pixel, right? So it can only be programmed to move by some small distance. And then the pointer that you have, again, there are so many hardware elements involved in that and so on. So leave that part of it. So that is one element of how hard that's going to be. Second one is with respect to the multiple devices. Why multiple devices? Even look at the iPad and the iPhone if you want to test both on your same solution. That's pretty hard even in a human, because the way in which the screens are designed for iPhone, the way in which the screens are designed for iPad are very different. So we need to capture that as part of the as part of your screenshots, right? For you to compare whether when I click this, whether the screen appeared or not, and so on. So how do you think you will transfer all this data part, right? So when the robot clicks, you need to take the screenshot of that and then transfer it over the cloud.
Yeah.
And then the system there should recognize and so on.
Yeah.
Correct?
So-
And then when you do that, there are multiple, when you take the screenshots again, screenshots are only as instantaneous shots of that pixel, and you wouldn't know exactly whether all the pixels are transferred or not. Only if you look at it closely, you will see there will be a difference. So, and then comparing them on the cloud side, right? I don't know what sort of software you would use to compare them and so on. So what do you think would be the complexities of this when you want to build the whole thing at the end?
Yeah, just answering it in one line, we have done those parts. If I could just show you the video, we have done the portion where we are controlling the mobile device from the emulator, taking just the screenshots, the test design portion. That Python SQL engine and that emulator portion, it's already done. I have coded it, it's already available in GitHub, my repository. The code is already done, it has been videoed. The robotic arm portion, yeah, the arm is also built. We have controlled the arm, we have, okay, not on the mobile device, but in the video if I could show you, we have typed in a computer keyboard properly, taking input from this service. Okay, we have not used the server, EC2 cloud server right now, but then again, I have used my own computer as a server, which is much less powerful. How I did it, or what we did it, yeah, what you said is right, that huge data has to be transferred, but we are not transferring huge data. To click on the specific portions, what I need only the inch by inch coordinates, right? Two things. I am exposing only few portions via the API. The API gets called from the hardware portion. The hardware only needs those portions. Arduino is quite powerful processor. It does that very good. About the screenshot, we are not actually comparing the screenshot. What we are comparing is when two screenshots are coming, one from the emulator and one from the device, right? Now, the device screenshot, it's getting generated by the mirror driver, which has the control of the kernel. The same thing I am getting generated in the emulator, which has control of the same stock Android or iOS, whatever, right? Now the pixels, at least the screenshots of the two same screen, should be 100% identical. Even then, we have fuzzy logic implemented so that 80% should be verified. If that, we are good to go, because we are not actually verifying application. We are verifying the touch-based responses, whether it's actually touching and going to the right scenario, right? So that's how we are handling it. And about the implementation, yeah, it was hard, but it was not that much hard. And we have implemented it. If I only could show you the video. Yep.
Yeah, so what you're planning is during the break, we're going to have that downloaded.
The video is already uploaded in the SharePoint site.
So we'll have that available just after the discussion. So.
Number of mobiles. How number of mobiles can we cater? Now, why we wanted a generic solution is that since the universal engine can handle and the automation part is handled by the video, by the screenshots, it's not actually application specific. Once you design any flow, I should not be saying test cases, but flow using screenshots, it recognizes that by the screenshot, right? That's what Sikuli does. We have implemented Python with using Sikuli for the GUI verification of the portions. What we are using it for is getting the coordinates so that we can actually physically click the device via the robotic arm. That arm doesn't know what it's clicking, but it knows the coordinates, right? So that's what we are using, and that's why we can cater to more number of devices, because even in iPad 4, 5, even with retinal display, even with HD content or without HD content, when it's getting displayed in an emulator and it's getting displayed in a device, in the image, in the kernel level, it's the same thing. The image is the same. My engine will not have problem automating that portion. And my robotic arm doesn't know where to click. It just knows the coordinates. It's not a problem for it if it gets the proper coordinate. That's why we can cater to any mobile devices.
Now, the new touch is not the only way you interact with any hardware. Now, even scrolling up your eyes, sometimes you get a response, you just shake your mobile. I don't know.
Yeah, about that, I think that's basically an LG patent, and Samsung just did it on their latest device, and even that's only device specific. Okay, we're not catering to everything, we're catering to only the largest part. What is the most used part of a touch-based mobile? Touch, right? Yeah, obviously this is changing. This can be catered to, but we have, maybe that can be done, but we haven't thought of, because we thought the main, our main point was concerned was touch, because even that portion is not there. Touch is everyone uses, every device, obviously it's a touch-based device, right? It has to use.
Unfortunately, with that, we have to end this session, but we'll
Thanks.
make sure that the video is available. And I'm sure you must have had a sample of what I meant by passion. So, Rambo, I think you should become the next Titan or the Spartans. Thank you so much. Good luck.